Welcome everybody to Homeschool Hustle. This is our second conversation with Raynelle Rino. Welcome, Raynelle.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, it's very much needed. Your expertise as a nature-based coach. I personally worked with you a few times. Just last week, I was part of one of your virtual healing hikes, which is very relaxing and grounding. And we'll talk more about that as our conversation gets going. But yes, welcome everyone to Homeschool Hustle. This is live conversations of entrepreneurs hustling and parenting in the pandemic. A lot is going on, especially for those of us in California right now. The fires in the Bay Area, the air quality, and it's just really kind of depressing, to be honest, right now. School has just started for a lot of us parents, so we're juggling getting our kids on Zoom classes and being there, basically being teacher assistants to the teachers. Right, so it's a lot. And I think to get us started in this conversation, because of who you are, Raynelle, and what you do, I would love for you to just get us grounded and acknowledge the land that we are on as well. So Raynelle, I'll let you take it away.
Good. Yes, this is a good opportunity to just get centered and be present with the conversation. And hopefully this can be a model for you to find some calm in the midst of all the chaos. It's just real simple breathing and acknowledging of where you are. So, just take a moment to maybe like breathe away some of the distractions, maybe the noises that really are keeping you away from the conversation or where you want to be in your attentiveness to learn from us and to hear our stories and to share. So just for everybody listening, just find that space of calm and presence with even your body, just noticing where your body is being supported by either a chair, couch, or the floor, wherever you're at. And just breathe in gratitude for being here. For the most part, your health, the wellness of your surroundings, and acknowledging where you occupy, what land you occupy, what land you're settling into, and just connect to that. Just imagine your feet or your bottom, whatever is closest to the earth, and bring awareness to where you're at on the planet. And so for me, I acknowledge me being on Chochenyo territory here in what is also known as Oakland. And for each of you, wherever you are calling in from, to just acknowledge the land that you occupy and the first peoples that come from there and are still there. And if you don't know that, you could take some time to research. So I want to acknowledge for us being in the Bay Area that we are here, either on Romitush or Yelamu or Chochenyo territory, and just acknowledge all the energy, all the ancestors who have come before, who have stewarded this land and come from this land. And if you can, take that breath in, introduce your ancestors to the ancestors of the land. Just ask for permission every day that you wake up in gratitude that you are here, and that every day we work on ourselves, that we are also working and stewarding the land we occupy. So I just wanted to bring that piece in with your breath, and maybe even a soft acknowledgement and, you know, a soft gaze to what's in front of you, and just really tuning into your spirit. And just acknowledge every day that you are on land, maybe that your ancestors are not from, and that there is a story that brought you here, and to acknowledge that, and just know that each day you're stewarding the land by really not causing more harm in any way that you can.
Thank you, Raynelle.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for giving me that space to do that. I think, yeah, just as
Yeah.
a reminder.
Yeah, it's important. We do that, you know, with our kids we have a circle time that we've implemented in our homeschooling practice now over the past few months, where we acknowledge the land and our ancestors on a daily basis, and definitely encourage other parents out there to do that as a practice with your family. And that was a little bit of a taste, actually, Raynelle, of what you do, your work through Rino Consulting Services and Hike It Out Coaching. I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about your work, and then also about your family life, and, you know, tell us about your setup at home right now in this pandemic.
Yeah, so I started my coaching and consulting business in 2016. Actually, it was really also born out of like the crisis of the election. So I was going through a lot of transition and just not wanting to stay a nonprofit. I did a lot of environmental education with our young communities here, and decided that the place in nonprofit really couldn't hold space for my own mission. So I developed my own business out of the same sort of work that I was already doing, which was reconnecting people to nature, and understanding how ecosystems work, and that relating that to how our human inner ecosystem functions too. So a lot of my work, when I say nature-based, is actually looking at the systems of nature, and we all know that it sustains itself and it balances itself. So there's lessons within nature that can also help for our personal development and growth, figure out ways that we could sustain ourselves and keep ourselves balanced. And we're a reflection of that. What I often say is nature is a mirror to how we treat ourselves. So right now, as the wildfires like rage through a lot of California, when that first started back in like 2017, I read that as like, we got to start over. It's a rebirthing of how we interact with the land, and we got to get it right this time. It's almost like we're being given a blank canvas. So a lot of what I do is relate a lot of that to leadership development skills, whether it's communication or organizing your programs, just developing yourself in the interpersonal power, how that could really amplify an organization's leadership, or just even cultivating self-care for the individual. Because, you know, a lot of these spaces, whether nonprofit or business, we carry a lot and we have to navigate a lot. And I'm speaking from a point of being a woman of color, and a really strong woman of color, like very opinionated. So, you know, there's a lot of ways that we could translate how nature works into how we process grief, for instance, or how we manage our triggers in the moments of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
or things like that. There are a lot of things that nature can teach us about how to process through that in a healthy way, so that we also don't continue harming other people. So I focus a lot of that in my coaching, like seeing what my private clients are needing is a lot of that reminder of who they are, and their strength, and really aligning them back into their values so that they can manage pretty demanding, and maybe even environments that are traumatized, and to continue working in strength. And as a consultant, it's really about holding space for an organization, and really seeing how do you implement a holistic way of holding your staff or working through challenges, you know. So it's got to be like the whole picture from my perspective that I bring in, like we are part of a bigger thing that's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
so what is your unique gift within that bigger lens of change?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of working with cause-based organizations, but I also help other small businesses, and really helping them understand how to be in better relationship to each other, and be in better working relationship with the demands of running a business. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I've worked, yeah, like we started working together, I guess right when you started your business, actually. But I've also been very much drawn to, um, listening to the signs of nature, and really being able to focus and tap into my own inner wisdom to guide me to the right decisions for whether it's my business or my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And those two are very intertwined, right? Like I think as small business owners, uh, they can often be one and the same. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. What else can you tell us about now? You're a mother, okay? So let's talk about, this is about parenting and hustling. And so tell us a little bit more about your daughter, which I used to babysit when she was a baby. Oh my God. So Mila is now 10 years old. Yeah, let us know a little bit about the mama life too.
Oh man, yeah, it's great. It's such a journey. Having her is like, she is my self-care, you know. She's 10 now, and you know, the other thing I want to say is, like, you helped me, Paloma, like start my business, because I didn't even really know that like I was like, I don't want to be a nonprofit, but then what else in my life am I going to do? She's like, you should run your own business. And here are some people that will help you. So I just want to thank you. You've been part of that village that has uplifted me in so many ways, even, pushing me to really engage with the Pinaista community too, has like really leveled up. So first I want to just say, like, from mompreneur to mompreneur, like, thank you for that.
Oh,
And you've seen that journey, you know, and I witnessed your journey. I was like, twins. So you're an inspiration. And you know, my daughter, yeah, like I said, she's part of my self-care plan. So like, she's the one that I'm like, oh, if I don't have enough joy, I'm like, what can I do with Mila that I can be a kid too?
yeah.
That reminds me. So we started skateboarding, you know, and as I started the business, it was really like being really clear and upfront with my partner. I think Mila was 6. I was like, I can't. I can't do the stable anymore. It's ruining my health. Like, I'm completely stressed, and I want to start my own business, and this is how much I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna need you to like pick up some of the parenting stuff, you know, and take care of her if I need to do this or whatever. And he was so supportive when basically I had a severance package when the second time I got laid off. and no savings, no nothing. But I was like, how do I stretch this severance package so I pay for Anthem's like Art of Hustle business coaching?
Shout out Anthem.
What's up, Anthem? And my coaching certification program.
Yeah.
And so we had to like really juggle that. And, you know, I had to be okay with not really having much monetary like security.
Yeah.
But for me, it was so worth it to do what I needed to do to be the person that I've been waiting to be, right? Like it's like coming into my purpose, like who am I actually? And coaching was like the biggest fit, like the most aligned fit, because I was already coaching my staff. I was already doing those kinds of things. I was already a consultant to other organizations. So how do I create like an actual business out of that? And I didn't know how to do that. So a lot of the things of like shifting the mindset from, you know, being taken care of by another organization and the pay to like, oh, now I have to create that whole system for myself. And, you know, along the way, I have to be real, like I lost sight of my physical health, but I was doing coaching, I was doing my coaching certification. So I was learning mentally, like how to be disciplined in my practice. But I wasn't like really scheduling out like self-care time. That's really where like other entrepreneurs really helped me. And as a parent, like of a daughter who I have to also manage her school, like enroll her, make sure she's like, what's her schedule, when are her breaks, all of that. Like it's a constant look at my schedule, and then being very clear of like how much time I need to work and how much time I'm going to take off. And I have to notice when it's affecting Mila, because there are times where I have to say, well, I think I've been working too much and she's been wanting time with me, or she might be behaving in a certain way that's like, oh, what is your deal? You know, like her attitude or something. And I'm like, oh, I need to spend quality time with her.
And I think that's something that's really unique to our situation as, you know, our own business, having our own business, being our own boss, is we can make those adjustments, you know, fairly quickly as we notice things. We, you know, like right now, I'm also like, okay, I'm going to have to change my work schedule around a little bit now that school is back in, you know, and so it's like, we have that power. I can be like, I'm not going to take meetings in the mornings anymore. I'm just going to do them in the afternoon. And obviously you negotiate that as needed, but you know, we have that power to shift and be flexible when we notice things are going on in our family.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the other learning too, is like the other side of that is like we could work for 12 hours, you know?
Yeah.
And like sometimes I've caught myself like, oh, I didn't get this deadline met, so I have to stay up all night. And I just realized with my body, I'm like, that does not work. I am like a monster the next day, you know, like I need my sleep, I need all of this. And so that's why I love entrepreneurship, because it challenges you. Like nobody else is going to tell you to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You have to tell yourself to stop, and you have to like say no to your clients. You have to say no to partners and draw like really clear boundaries. And as a parent, that's sometimes working with partners that don't have parents. It's kind of like needing that reminder, you know, well, here are my blocks of time. And here are days that I'm willing to be flexible around that, and when I'm really not.
Yeah.
So it just kind of like you have to reinforce a lot more than before. Like it's not a 9 to 5, but you can make it if you want. If you
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I love being an entrepreneur, and I'm so glad that you are part of that journey as, you know, like we're friends on a personal level, like we're friends. So like having friendships that with people that get your work is really valuable. So yeah, any entrepreneurs out there, if you don't have friends that are entrepreneurs, like there are communities out there where you can make those friendships happen, because it really makes a difference when you have folks that get what you're going through. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
They don't necessarily have to do exactly what you're doing, but
No,
have
no.
like a similar journey to have to like, you know, we have to cheer ourselves on. That's so hard to like be like, go right now. Yes.
Yeah.
Darn it, I didn't make that sale. And it's
Yeah.
like, who in the room can I vent to? Nobody. Oh, all right. So it does help to have a community and like, you know, get on the Slack and be like, oh my God, this happened.
Yeah.
I just need to say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or hire a coach like that, you know,
Yes.
like we both have worked with Anthem, Salgado, Art of Hustle coaching, but you're also a coach, and there's so many more coaches now. From when I started my business 11 years ago, there were no coaches of color out there, y'all. So whoever's starting a business now, like there's so much more support available to you that is culturally relevant. And it's amazing. I'm so happy that there's like so many different coaches to work with. So work with a coach, y'all. If you don't have a coach yet, find a coach. And there's coaches for all different kinds of things that you want to focus on. And it can be very like microscopic of like, do you need a marketing coach? Do you need a financial coach? Do you need, you know, a health and wellness coach? So
Yeah.
explore them all, because it's such a huge return on investment when you do that.
Oh yes. Like the one thing I have to say is if you want to explore coaching, know what you want different and then go search. So like you're like, I need help, but like what kind of help?
Yeah.
And when you get that help, when you're done with that help, who are you? And so being really clear that like you have that vision can also help you figure out like, well, where do I start? Well,
Yeah.
what do you want? What do you want different? What's the most important thing that you want to change right now?
Yeah. So, okay, I want to talk now a little bit about Nila and her business. So I love that during the pandemic, y'all, when coronavirus hit, shelter in place hit, everyone's like, oh damn, what are we doing? Nila, your 10-year-old, started her own business.
Yeah.
So there's no school, right? Or little bit of schooling, maybe once a week there's like a Zoom class. But yeah, how did Nila start her own business? Nini Snacktown. Love it. She makes cookies and lumpia. She has a very well-known clientele.
She's more popular than my 4-year business.
Yeah. So tell us about Nila's business, how that started. What did you do to help her? Like, you know, I saw that you're teaching her to use spreadsheets, which I love. I'm like, yes, spreadsheets. A 10-year-old learning spreadsheets is awesome. Yeah, tell us about that whole experience.
So her business is, you could find her on Instagram. It's really only on Instagram, but she's at Nini Snacktown. So it's NINI S_Snacktown.
We'll leave that in the link.
Yeah. And, you know, to be honest, like we as a family needed some extra income even before the pandemic. I was like, look, I'm on a dry spell right now. I'm like prepping to get some programs up, but I need y'all to like help me like figure something else out. And you know, my partner Waylon, like he has memorized the chocolate chip cookie recipe. So he wouldn't even need it. It's just like, that would be our snack sometimes after dinner, is like he would just make a batch of cookies. And I was like, so many people would love that right now, you know? And I just proposed it to him. I was like, well, why don't you try getting some of your cookies out there? Like, we love them at home. And so he had a conversation with Neela too when the pandemic hit, because I was like, yo, got to make something happen. Like, what do you want to do? Like, not more of like, we do need this to happen, but what do you want to do? I was like, why don't you just try with Neela making some cookies? And they took it to a whole nother level. I mean, they were like, okay, we're going to do this. They researched all kinds of recipes. They were like, it's going to be this way. Let's test a few batches. No, it's not right. And they, both of them came up with this idea that they would be frozen packets that they would deliver, COVID safe, you know, and it's wrapped up in parchment paper. So all you have to do is like put it on your baking sheet and off you go. So it kind of put her in a place of spending her time and energy getting excited about cookies and connecting to her friends. And so texting her friends and being like, hey, do you want to try my cookies? I'm going to deliver them. And I was like, you guys should make a Instagram page so that you could get orders or whatever, just play around with it. And they went ahead and did it. And they bonded a lot more, you know. They were just like, oh my God, the amount of videos that are on chocolate chip cookies is bananas. Like, and testing videos on testing cookie recipes is also a thing. So they would do that. And you know, it also gave my husband something to be excited about in monitoring some of the content and playing around with social media and how that works. So this was all happening while, you know, I was just like trying to manage what do her teachers need me to do? Where do I go? You know, like, what time is her thing? And so in between that, one of our initial schedules of time in the pandemic was to block out some of the Nini snack time business hours, prep time, you know, doing receipt. And that's where the like spreadsheets came from, because I was like, yo, we could make this a real thing. This is like, but we gotta like be serious about it. You know how I am, like this could be a really profitable business, but you got to do the work behind it. And so I brought the spreadsheets out to her and I helped her understand, well, you got to be mindful, like, if we're going to spend the little money that we have on supplies, are you making actual profit once you sell them? So every time you go shopping with your dad, like, get the receipts, and then I'm going to teach you how to put in the costs, and then also I helped her organize her orders. So how do you keep track of who ordered on Instagram and like how much and what, you know, and then out for delivery. Like, so she learned a lot of the nitty gritty details. But you know, she's like 9 at that point, you know, and I'm like, I don't know how much she's going to retain out of this, but she gets it, you know.
And she's having fun. She was having so much fun, right?
Yeah, she was. I mean, this was the only way that she was able to drive by her friend's house. It's like if they ordered cookies, this is the only way that we were even able to interact with any of our community, because then we put the word out. We're like, oh my gosh, we get to see people.
It's so nice. I ordered cookies and it was great. Like, it was quick. I wish we could have hung out longer, but it was a nice, quick, like, hi. And the kids were so happy when we baked them. They're delicious. So yeah, it was awesome. And I love too that, shout out Nate again, our first Homeschool Hustle interview. But Nate and Mike Bam, they helped Neela with her logo design, right?
Oh yeah, yep. Yep, she was like communicating with her uncles and being like, well, here's what I made up and here's, and she's like, no, I don't like that. I like it like this. I was like, whoa, she's really, she's also a creative artist. Like she likes to just paint and draw. So it was really good. Like there's been like a wealth of support for her too, just coming out, and they find out, they're like, you're selling cookies? I want to order some. And so she gets a lot of that attention as well, like not just from us, but like her parents at home, but she interacts with the people. Basically, I'm like, these are your customers, like you have to communicate with them and follow through with their message. So that's also something that I realized. I was like, oh man, 9-year-old 10-year-olds can't really like conceptualize like the DM, the following through with the DM orders and stuff like that. So she's learned that, and it's been cool. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's like stressful sometimes, but it's also fun.
Yeah. And I think it shows like, the very first Homeschool Hustle conversation was with Chrissy Osada from the Whipped Baker, right? And what Chrissy, she's been homeschooling for 3 years, maybe going on 4 now at this point. And something she shared was that, they really lean on the community to figure out, well, who can teach the kids, what, like whether it's a music lesson or an art class or something. And so this is a perfect example of Neela and your family tapping into the community that you have, reaching out to Nate and Mike and being like, hey, can you teach Neela how to make a logo? And I think that's something like we're reaching out, like I'm asking my nephew who's an, aspiring actor, he's an thespian already. I'm like, hey, can you do some acting classes with the kids? And so that's something that I encourage, families out there, like who in your community, like whether it's your grandparents, parents, whoever, friends, like who's out there that can teach a class, that can do a little one-off workshop that you can bring in, whether it's through Zoom or outside physical distancing, or maybe it's your own internal pod you're creating where your kids are not just learning from you or their teachers, but it's really, it's a village. And like, let's go back to that of like, raising our children with a village. And I think that's what we're seeing now in this pandemic is like, we're being forced to really look at our village and our community in a different way.
Yeah. And that's real, because what's happening is like all of the systems that don't, what I say, they're not aligned with how nature works. All of those systems are dismantling. All of them are breaking down. And that includes education, because education was an institution. So relying on that, the education system that was created is the only way to get information or the only way to learn. If anything, the pandemic is showing us like we had it all along. We already had our educators within our community all along. So how do we make those connections and maybe structure our lives so that we're reaching out to them? And still, of course, like I'm a real supporter of public education. And that's the one thing I've seen too. It was like all of a sudden now we're getting help with like free food distribution twice a week. I was like, couldn't we have been doing this all along anyway? But it's just revealing to ourselves, like in times where we need to get it together, we could get it together. And we have to do it now, because we can't rely or wait on a new system out there to be created for us. We already are the system.
Yeah, like let's talk about that, because I feel like, granted, my husband is an educator, right? So, and I think deep down, I maybe wanted to be a teacher. My grandma, my Lola, is a teacher in the Philippines, so it's in me. But I feel like I can teach my kids, like, and I am, my husband's a public school educator. I definitely advocate for public school education. but I'm also like, I can teach my kids at home. I know what they need to learn. And sure, I'm not going to teach them trigonometry, but who really needs trigonometry though? They're only in first and second grade, so they're not ready for that anyways, but like I can teach them the basics. So how can, like, what can you share with parents, like in terms of your practice and how you coach, like what can we do to tap into that source and that knowledge and that wisdom and use that as like a guide and North Star in terms of like how we are homeschooling now?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's another thing to be real about, and I kind of like realized what the situation was at home. I was like, oh, we're not teachers. No, that's not gonna work. To a 10-year-old, I was like, I can't. I was teaching high school, and that was kind of like my realm, and I was like, okay, I can do this. But when it comes to younger ages, like, I've had to coach my partner into being like, you got to give her power. You got to give her ownership of some of the Instagram. You got to let her make the decisions about some of these things and not control so much. So, just to be real, like some of us just aren't educators. We don't have that natural ability to tap into like child development, but we can parent, and if the lessons are more about relationship building than they are about division, then that's what they're learning.
Yeah.
And she's still gonna get her math. I did sign her up for Kumon, so I'm like, there's other like subject matter that other people can take care of. But like being real with who you are as a parent and what your capacity is as a parent could be your lane of the education. And
Right.
so for us, maybe it's more about cooperation, that in the home space we're teachers of cooperation. We're teachers of navigating some of the chaos and giving her skills around that. And her teachers are giving her the reading development and the math skills. And she also has a Spanish teacher. So I think we do the best we can, and just know that for me it's a reminder, like if these systems are really breaking down, who knows what who knows what her high school situation is going to be like. Who knows what college is gonna look like? I don't know. But am I cultivating a nice human, like a good human? And I think those are worthy skills to be a teacher of and a model of for her, that are also gonna take her far enough in being able to learn subject matter, concepts and any subject matter that she'll come across later in life. I think the technical skills are also important, that, it's being real. If I don't have that to teach her, then I do need to, check in with her teachers, make sure she's on track, and ask them for help if she's falling off, So there's things that I can't do. I know I can't do, but there's things that I know that I'm really, really strong in. And a lot of in our home is about emotional development. And her knowing how to manage when she's frustrated with us, and we're frustrated with her schoolwork. So, I would just say, like, also just be real about your capacity. And if there's something about being a trained educator too that can help support that. But if you don't have that, I think that's what's coming up nowadays is when we're with our kids that much, it starts to trigger like what we didn't get when we were kids, or what we can transfer and educate because we were raised a certain way. So what are the lessons that you want to pass down, and then heal through all those wounds that are like getting triggered because there's a mini version of you right here.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to like play date them or put them in school and not have to deal with that. That's the stress that's compounding, is because we're having to figure out how to parent
without breaks.
without breaks, and then we're reparenting ourselves, right, in order to like really be a healthy family, like interacting with each other in a healthy way. Like there are times where it's reminding me of like some of the things that happened to me when I was that age. Mm-hmm. And how do I not transfer that to my daughter, so I'm doing the same bad behavior that I might have been raised in.
Right.
You know, just a lot going on. And you know, like as parents, we all are also coping with it in different ways. Like just seeing like what I've had to like meditate through, just like calm myself down and just like, okay, fine. Like I'll do it different tomorrow. You know, I know that happened, but I'll do it different tomorrow. That's hard. While you have to.
It is. It's a lot of, like we're definitely like, oh, this happened today. That was not good. Like, mm-hmm. How can we do it better tomorrow? And it's this constant like reflection, constantly reflecting on what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What does this child need right now? Okay, I'm tired just talking about it now. Let's take it down now. Oh my God. Something I wanted to also like ask and reflect on with you is like, what values do you think Nila is getting being raised by a parent that's an entrepreneur?
Oh man, I can ask her. I can only assume what she's taking in from that. But I feel like some of the language that I try to reinforce is I need my time to do this so that we could do this together. Like there are times, like really that structure. I hope that she's seeing a lot of the determination of just not being knocked down by the chaos or the stress, and just holding true to like, I'm still at work. We're here, we're home, but I still have to work in order for us to really like make it through this challenge. And balancing that with, well, that's why we're going to spend time doing this together alone. And that's another reason why, before the pandemic, I had scheduled, to celebrate my 40th with her, with going to Hawaii, just her and I. We couldn't do that. So we just went to the river together. And that was like really immersed time, because I have been working a lot, and I'm really the breadwinner of the household right now. So I hope she's really seeing the discipline, and the language that I'm bringing in is really being dedicated to a goal, and seeing it through. I think that's one thing that like, it kind of like warmed my heart. I think in one of her classes, her teacher was just like, what's the best thing, or what's one way that your parents show you that they love you? And her answer, she said to her class, was like, when they spend time with me, even though they're busy. So, just making sure we're not ignoring her. I think that she is valued in general. Like, I hope she sees that, and that we're working towards our happiness. The other thing that, maybe she's witnessing is what it takes to own your own thing, like the business. And she gets really excited. She's like, with the logo, she's like, oh my gosh, that's my logo, that's my thing, and she's like, oh, lumpia, let's make the lumpia. And you know, her ideas, like she gets ideas. And I said, okay, like run with that. If you really want to do that, you know what you need to do. Are you committed to that? You know, and, you know, just even encouraging her, like, if you want to express yourself on the Instagram, here it is, like,
Mhm.
show people who you are. And maybe it's that sense of, you know, being comfortable with who she is, and like honoring things that she likes, you know, and knowing, knowing herself. I think, I've hoped that the value that she sees in like being able to do the business is also her being, saying like, yeah, I like this, no, I don't like that, you know, just being confident in who she is.
The decisions she makes.
Yeah.
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 Awesome. Um, we're gonna wrap up soon. Not yet, but if for those of you out there tuning in right now during the live recording, if you have any questions for me and Raynelle, go ahead and drop those in the chat right now. And Raynelle, you know, I think the work that you do is so important right now. Like I mentioned earlier, I've worked with you for a few years now, and yeah, tapping into nature, right? There are definitely so many signs right now in nature of what we need to do as humans on this planet. You know, like what are some ways folks can work with you, and to be able to tap into that inner wisdom, to calm ourselves, to get through this rough, very rough time. And there's gonna, I am like, okay, what's next? What's gonna happen next week? Okay, because I don't know, it's crazy year. It's a
Yeah.
crazy year for everybody on many levels. So yeah, what's coming up for Rino Consulting Solutions and the virtual healing hikes that folks can participate in?
Yeah, yeah. So I pivoted from in-person healing hikes to virtual healing hikes. Actually, it wasn't the pandemic where I first did that. It was 2017 fires that I had to figure out how to bring those healing hikes into the Zoom space, because I was working with Wind Call Institute with a retreat. And so the pandemic really just amplified it and allowed me to really just lean in and be like, if I'm going to make this like a serious practice, then I have to figure out how to bring what happens out there inside. So I have been doing virtual healing hikes. I'm taking a break from the weekly ones right now so that I could restructure. But that is a practice. That is a practice you can engage in and just kind of get your feet wet in how to be taken through a guided meditation through nature. But if you sign up for my newsletter, then I'm gonna let everybody know when the weekly practice comes back. Because right now, what I'm doing is actually creating like a 6-month training program so that leaders or people who want to understand how to integrate more of this nature-based approach into whatever practice they do, or even the concepts brought into their organization. I'll be training up leaders to take on my framework of how that happens in the 6-month program. And those virtual healing hikes are going to be part of that practicum. So being able to practice how to lead these virtual healing hikes is going to be an important piece of cultivating your intuition, because a lot of this is about just intuitively knowing like what needs to happen and what's coming up for you emotionally, being a real message from nature, you know. So I do other trainings right now. I'm also in the midst of like closing out some of the enrollments for a training program for service providers called Root to Bloom. On my website, you could just click on courses, and I have an online school. So there are some classes that you could take there. The long-term training for service providers is there. I hold spaces, learning spaces for healers as well. And yeah, trying to ramp up so that I could actually train other people to take on some of the the work that I do into their life. And I'm always taking private clients as well. If you're really looking to find that place and that purpose and have that guidance through understanding our connection to nature and your sort of inner nature, I'm always taking private clients, and you can always hit me up on my website about that too. Yeah, what else do I got going on? I'm going to be part of a meditation app. One of my hikes is going to be on a meditation app called My Life. So that interview is coming out soon. And a lot of my lens too is because I'm really talking about nature as our holistic self and processing through that. A lot of what I hold space through is the trauma, like really being able to move through trauma as well. So that's another thing that I think is unique in that it's I look at myself and I'm just like, wow, who's doing this like similar to I am. People say, oh, this is like forest therapy. I'm like, well, yeah, and like I'm talking about racial dynamics, I'm talking about trauma and our communities that are in there and relating that to the systems of nature as well. So I just really hope to cultivate a really more clear voice with this flagship training program. And, signing up for that newsletter too, you'll get first dibs on when that opportunity is going to be available, probably in the fall. But just explore my Instagram page, and I have a guided meditation to manage change. If you sign up for my newsletter now, you'll get like a meditation about wind.
Oh, yay. Wonderful. I'm going to look that one up. And you're also doing healing hikes through Community Well, right? And those ones are free?
Yep. So it's sponsored by Community Well every fourth Saturday of the month. They're on my event page, or you could go to Community Well and search for the H3 program. Yeah. It's sponsored because they're using soda tax money to provide these wellness activities. So also a good organization to support.
Yeah. Okay, and we have a question. So what's one tip to help get you grounded during these times?
Well, I think naturally we like rhythm. We like pattern. And so I really do suggest, if you don't have a quiet time practice, that you at least start with that, like 5 minutes of just silence, or find, music, like meditation music to stream on YouTube or somewhere, and just give yourself 5 minutes of quiet time and start to develop that as your pattern. And that's also where we're reclaiming ritual. Ritual was very, very important for us to survive anytime, like our ancestors relied on ritual, and that was like, things happen and are very intentional. So carve out at least 5 minutes of just quiet time and make it relevant for yourself. Like, it doesn't have to be all this, like, you don't need a lot of things. You just need time where you're at 5 minutes of like non-interruption and just for you to listen to your breath.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And I think that'd be a great practice to start doing with your family, right? Like maybe there's a 5-minute quiet time for the whole family to do that practice together and instill that in your children.
Exactly.
Yay. Thank you so much, Raynelle. This has been a wonderful conversation, much needed at this particular moment. So thank you for joining Homeschool Hustle today. And we will leave all the links on the website and on the YouTube channel so folks can reach out to you for further support in our journey through 2020 and beyond.
I'll see you on the other side.
Yes. And thank you so much to those of you who have tuned in today. Thank you to Ruby Mountain, who has been helping behind the scenes with sound and all the technical support. Until next time, y'all, we'll be back in a few more weeks with our next guest. So thanks so much and take care, everyone.
Thank you.